Welcome back. We continue right here live. Pittsburgh CW. Bob Pompeani with you on the Borders and Borders hotline of the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call. A lot of tweets in. Jediah Day says, if the Steelers would have squeaked into the playoffs, this whole thing would have blown up in playoff week. Lack of discipline for this stuff. The only Steeler drama they even have it when they're not in the tournament. Well, maybe they were counting on being in the tournament, and they thought this. And if that would happen, they could very easily just say, we're not addressing that. That's something, and then it would have happened a month from now. Who knows? But we'll see. We got a lot of people want to talk about it, so let's get right to it. Waylon in Washington. What's up, Waylon? How are you?
Hi, Bob. How are you doing?
Good, thanks.
Hey, I remember at the beginning of the year you told me that, the NFL, anything can happen. I do got a question for you if I could come out with it. It's all hypothetical. There are a lot of variables. But, we didn't make the playoffs. The Steelers should make the playoffs. But, how do you think it's going to be next year? You think it's going to be the same old, or what's your opinion on that?
I think it's going to be tougher. I think their schedule can be tougher. There's still a lot of traveling involved, Waylon. I think the Browns are going to be better. We saw that Greg Williams interviewed for that job today. He's the interim, but also Mike McCarthy's going to interview there later this week. They're going to be a good team. They have a lot of draft picks to add to what they already have, a stable of young talent. I think Baltimore is going to be very good, too. They have a young defense. They got a young quarterback who seems to be getting better, although I'd like to see him pass more than he runs, and eventually he's going to have to for self-preservation. Yeah, it's going to be hard. It's always hard, though. I think every year. This is why when people underestimate the importance of the regular season, I always say, man, in this league, you never know. There are a lot of things that can happen strangely. So getting to the playoffs, or at least competing for the playoffs, is always going to be the number one goal. Where you go from there, especially an organization like this, should be at another level. And this year, by not making it, it was more the way they didn't make it, Waylon. 7-2-1, 2.5 game lead, to 9-6-1. They basically did Baltimore a favor, because even if Baltimore wins 6 of their last 7, if the Steelers take care of business, Baltimore does not win that division. So thanks for the call. Appreciate it. Let's go to line 2. That's JB in Squirrel Hill. What's up, JB?
Tom, what's up? How are you?
I'm good. What's up?
Happy New Year. So,
you too.
Yeah, thank you. I just want to say, I think, can you give me an example, guys who divide locker rooms, divisive guys, do not win championships. I don't care what sport it is. But can you give me any examples of divisive people who've won titles?
I mean, there are always.
Happy New Year, brother.
All right, thanks. There are always going to have players who can divide, but if you're in a good locker room, and I've always believed the Steelers had a pretty good locker room. They had guys who keep things in control. I think Marquise Pouncey's very good at it. I think Roethlisberger's good at it, largely. I think there are a lot other guys there who can, make things happen in that locker room without it becoming major distractions. There are distractions. Everyone has them. Look what happened in Jacksonville this year with Jalen Ramsey. How do you explain that team? Going from where they went last year, AFC Championship game, coming back with a good young team, a defense that was number 1 on the boards, and yet they disintegrate. It's a tough league. That's all I'll tell you. And I thought it was interesting if you saw Ryan Clark last night on ESPN. And by the way, I used to work with Ryan on a show we did here. I think he's outstanding at what he does. He's not afraid to criticize, even if he throws people sometimes under the bus. And he doesn't do it maliciously. He does it critically. And he said about Antonio Brown, he had a couple of stories. He said when Mike Wallace turned down the deal and they knew Antonio Brown was going to get it, he told people, he said, you're going to create a monster with that guy. Once he gets the money, look out. Turns out maybe that's true. He also said he's more interested in stats than he is wins and taking teams deep in the playoffs. It's about, like New Orleans, 19 targets, 14 receptions, 2 touchdowns. That's what it's all about. There are a lot of me guys in this game, but you still can, overcome that as long as you have a good team chemistry in that locker room. And I think the Steelers still do, although now I wonder how this is, this may be one of the most embarrassing situations of all the stuff that's happened under Antonio Brown since he's been here. Let's go to Mike, Bethel Park. Hey, Mike, how you doing?
Yeah, hey, Bob. If you could, I need a little help here. After the game, Tomlin was asked about the game, and he said we did everything we had to do. And they did win, albeit I know Dalton, Tyler Alford, A.J. Green, and Burfict did not play. Did
18 guys. 18 guys are on IR. Tyler Boyd did not play, yes. Tyler Boyd did not play. They had nobody, basically.
That's what I'm wondering. I wasn't real happy with his answer. It seemed like a shake and bake answer. I think scolding would have been better. To struggle to win barely like this at home, I thought was ridiculous.
Well,
Thank you,
had
Bob.
they lost the game, it would have been worse. I mean, they were down 10-0, pathetic first half. They at least came back and did what they had to do, but they could thank Matt McGrain for that. He was outstanding in just one day of practice. Line one, it's Ron in Duquesne. What's up, Ron? How are you?
Hey, how you doing, Bob?
All right, man.
All right, I got a quick question for you. Do you remember a few years ago when Le'Veon Bell had the situation and Mike Tomlin lied about that too, said he was injured and it was something else going on? I just think it's time for
Well, he missed a walk through the day before a playoff game.
Yeah, but
He
Tomlin
didn't say it was
also
an injury,
said
I
that
don't think. He
was
just
injured.
said whatever the case was, he shouldn't have played that day based on, if you're running discipline, and that's what Tomlin did in this case. He did not play Antonio Brown. I think when he came to the stadium on Sunday, he expected Foley to play, and when he didn't, he left at halftime. That's not unlike what LeGarrette Blount did, if you remember, a few years ago.
Yeah, I remember that. I just think that the Steelers need to get a new coach, man, because this whole thing been going on all year, and the one caller said, do you think it'll drag on till next season? I just think that's the type of locker room that Mike Tomlin runs. Thanks, Bob.
All right. Listen, Mike Tomlin, I think, people say he's a player's coach. I think what he does is he treats men like men, and with that comes a responsibility and accountability on each guy's part. If you're going to do that, you want them to respond as men. If he gives you the freedom, you know your responsibility. Come here, work hard. A few simple rules, but you must observe them. When you skip out on practice for 3 days in a row, that breaks that bond. But the problem is when you do it, how do you discipline? Because you can't go back and change things at that point. At least I don't think you can. So it's a problem, no doubt. 412-575-2600 is the number. We'll go out to Beth in Vanderbilt. What's up, Beth? How are you?
Hi, Bob. I was listening to your post-game show, you and Chris, the other night, and you said that there's lack of focusing on the players' end, and I think that has a lot to do with the discipline levels of some of the players. A lot of their players they have their hearts in the game. They, of course, want what's in the best interest of the team, but I'm not sure if Tomlin's more interested in being friends with the players.
No, I don't think that's the case from what I know. He's not interested in that. He does give you a little latitude. You're a man. Take the responsibility that comes with being on this team. And I think when you do that, you can get victimized by your own willingness to give them that freedom. And I think that's what happens sometimes. But I will say this, people always want to point, no matter what it is, to the head coach. It doesn't matter what sport we're talking about. It's always head coach. Players have to be responsible for not fumbling. They beat it into their heads not to. Protect the ball, do this, do that. And yet they do it. Now, defensively, that's a different story. They're not good at trying to punch balls out, and they need to do that. I'm not sure how they do that, but you need ball hawks on this team. They haven't had enough ball hawks or playmakers on defense, and that's a separate issue. Nunzio, Tony, and Chris, you're coming up next. We're live right here on Pittsburgh CW.